Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Massar of Bloomberg Business Week on Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg TV. We have a great duo here from AB InBev. We're talking about Fernando Tennenbaum. He's the Chief Financial Officer of AB InBev, along with the Chief Sustainability Officer and Global Vice President Ezgi Barcenas. I'm so glad to have the two of you here with us. We have a lot to get to, but before we get into talking about the big record deal that you did earlier this year, I do want to ask you both about the environment, what it looks like. I think we're just at this interesting point in our society and our economy that we're not quite sure what's next. Fernando, let me start with you. What are you seeing in terms of the market outlook?
Thanks, Carol. Pleasure to be here with you today. It's been a very interesting period for us. Probably if you go back like March and April last year, it was a period of a lot of uncertainty, but it's fair to say since May, the business has been quite strong, a lot of momentum, very good underlying demand, and the momentum has been kept throughout the second half of last year. And so far, we continue to be excited about the prospects going forward.
So it sounds like we were drinking a lot during the pandemic and we're continuing to do that post-pandemic?
Yes, beer continued to be quite strong. So people love beer and continue to love beer before and after the pandemic.
Hear, hear. Ezgi, come on in on this, because one of the things that we talked about a lot during the pandemic is sustainability and also supply chains, right? The difficulties. How is it looking for you guys? Are you able to keep up with demand and get what you need?
Yeah, thanks for having us today, Carol. And absolutely, as Fernando said, last year, we really focused on supporting frontline workers as well as our supply chain, our communities and customers. And, we provided over 3 million bottles of hand sanitizers, 3 million face shields. We helped build 6 healthcare facilities around the world from Brazil to Mexico. And, we were able to remotely support our farmers as well and really kept the buying centers open so that we can ensure that farmer cash flow and supply security. So, we're geared for a fast recovery, and we see that around the world.
But in terms of your supply chain, what you need, Ezgi, you get what you want, you're able to access it, and maybe at a higher cost, maybe not?
Yeah, absolutely. For a global company, we're really able to leverage our local networks around the world. So the teams on the ground, our supply chain teams, procurement teams have been working nonstop throughout the pandemic. And yes, this is about resilience for us and business continuity as much as it is about our, community resilience as well. So definitely onto a fast recovery.
All right, well, it's good to hear optimism. And I got to tell you, you guys all caught our attention earlier this year when you did that record debt deal, a $10.1 billion debt facility. It was a sustainability-linked loan, the largest ever. And it's in a year where we're seeing a lot more momentum on this front. The ethical debt market now worth over $3 trillion. I'm going to cut to the chase. Whose idea was it? How did this kind of come to be at AB InBev?
Carol, it was actually a natural process, because sustainability has been part of our company kind of forever. I remember when I joined ABI 17 years ago, I was visiting the plants and I was talking to the plant manager, and he was really excited. He was reducing water consumption. And then I would talk to another person on the plant, and they were very excited. They were out of our waste, they were using like 97%. And I would come back year after year, and these numbers were always improving. Then it became 98%, then 99, and then we're talking 99 point whatever. So it's part of our DNA, even before the word sustainability was out there, and it was really important. So it was always with us. On the other hand, after some years, we start seeing more and more noise, or more good noise on the financial markets about sustainability, but it was not very clear what it is, what it was, and what it could qualify as sustainability or not. So even though we were doing a lot of work internally, we're not necessarily comfortable to be behind some of these instruments before the market was mature enough. So at the beginning of this year, we felt the moment was right. We felt that the moment was right for us to be behind this instrument. But having said that, there is still a lot to go. The market is maturing, but there is still a lot of progress made. There is still a lot of improvements. But we definitely feel that now we have momentum, and now we felt that given our size and our scale, we need to be on the forefront of these initiatives.
Well, it definitely pushes the needle. Ezgi, come on in on this conversation. What were some of the conversations? I'm always curious about the back and forth between strategy type individuals, senior executives like yourself, and the financial side of the house, which is increasingly involved in strategy?
Yeah, it really happened very naturally, I would say. And I will even give the credit to Fernando's team, because it was them that approached us, that said, you guys are doing a lot of great work. We are looking into renewing our revolving credit facility. How do we move forward, and really understanding what the sustainable finance options are out there. So it was really the natural evolution for us. I always like to say that sustainability is the ultimate design brief, right? So that's how we design our business. These for us are really good operating practices, just to create that resilience across our business. So it was really a no-brainer to think about, here are the KPIs that we track and monitor over time. Why not really reinforce that message internally and externally as well, and continue to learn from the developments in the market. I really am encouraged as a sustainability professional to see how the pandemic has accentuated the materiality of ESG, and I think this is just the beginning. And this really will allow the companies to put on a long-term hat and really think about resilience into the future.
Tell me how it works, though, and talk to me about accountability. We do so much reporting. I know you guys put out a sustainability report. So you guys have specific metrics, a pricing mechanism, right, that incentivizes improvement in 4 areas, and that tracks with your overall sustainability goals that you've set by 2025. So either one of you, I don't know, Ezgi, you want to start? Tell me about these goals. How did you decide? How do you keep track of it and tell the world, here's what we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So these goals, we announced them back in 2018. There are 2025 sustainability goals. And we really wanted to look at our entire value chain and think about, what are the touch points? Where's our risk? Where does our impact really lie? And how do we build programs taking in an outward view approach in how we show up in the world, right? And our role in society as well. So, when you think about water efficiency, or you think about recycled content in packaging, or renewable electricity sourcing, these are really material to our business as we continue to build a business for the next 100+ years. So those were our sustainability goals that we were already on track to delivering this set of public commitments. What I think are the most ambitious set of public commitments that we really put out there. They allow us to remain competitive and differentiated and ambitious in the market. And, we translated those into the metrics with the Treasury team. So maybe Fernando can comment on that too. Yeah.
Fernando, come on in, because I do wonder how you keep track of it all, right? Because we talk about ESG generally, that it's sometimes a little mushy in terms of tracking.
Yes, it's a very fair point. At the end of the day, we want to be a better company, a more sustainable company, a company that is going to be here for the next 100 years, creating a lot of value. And for you to do that, you need to be sustainable. I believe whenever you look at the world outside, if you're not sustainable, you're not going to be able to survive. And then I believe the loan is the first step. And then if you have the loan, you need to have very, very hard KPIs. And we pick the ones that are closer to our business. But this is much more of a mindset. This is much more of a journey. And the more you do that, today you are getting kind of a benefit if you reach the KPIs. But the biggest benefit that you get is actually being a sustainable company. You are a less risky company, which is going to create more value in the long run. And that is going to bring lower cost of funds, lower cost of capital, and it's going to deliver a lot of value for you, for your shareholders, and for all the other stakeholders over the long run. So the KPIs are important, but the journey is even more important than the KPIs.
The KPIs, the key performance indicators, keep you honest, right? Keep you on track. It's just like quarterly earnings. Yeah. I don't always love it because it's very short-term perspective, but it's like a little check-in with everybody about how things are going. The KPIs that you have and that the world uses, but you guys specifically, do you feel like they're transparent enough and are able to really give you a true picture of what's going on in terms of your metrics that you're trying to achieve when it comes to sustainability?
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
We feel so. Because at the end of the day, they are very correlated to our business. So they are the parts of our business that we touch the external world, they are going to make a difference for us in the long run. So the KPIs are definitely transparent. And by the way, they are actually audited to make sure that a third-party independent source is validating that to make sure that we're really delivering on them.
Ezgi, come on in too.
Yeah, I would also add that, these KPIs, we we have a T-shaped operating model in how we track and monitor and report on these KPIs. And because a lot of them really sit in different teams, right? Whether that's your supply team, which is our operations team, procurement, logistics, more broadly speaking, the ESG metrics, they sit in the people function, corporate affairs function, right? So we really organize all of these together and really look into the growing demands for transparency and disclosure, and really take that into account when we put out our report and continue to update our website as well, right? Because this is not just a once a year annual report. It needs to be more dynamic. Increasingly, we're also hearing from our investors that they are looking for that context, that qualitative examples as well. And I think the other trend we're seeing out there, which is really exciting because it's going to allow us to continue to drive the right internal actions, is not only reporting on past performance, but also looking into forward-looking indicators, metrics, and frameworks, so that we can continue to design that business model that's going to remain innovative and resilient.
I got to ask you guys, and I think, Fernando, you said something, was part of another summit that we did, that, your business, if you don't have clear water, you don't have a business, right? And that may be not the case for everyone, but it's a do or die thing. And as you said at the top, I mean, you know that if we mess up in terms of climate change and sustainability, there is no business for you guys.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That's why normally we say that our business is sustainability, because if we don't have sustainability, we don't have a business to start with. So it's water. That's definitely important. Without water, no beer. So that's the major component of beer. But without agriculture, we don't have barley, we don't have hops. And even going one step further, when you look at the S aspect, the social aspect, if you don't have kind of communities thriving, we don't do well, because our business is very local. We operate in a lot of small communities. We have facilities there. We have salespeople there. We sell to the local people over there. So if they are not doing well as a community, we don't do well either. So for us, kind of this sustainable component is important, and without it, we don't have a business.
All right, so you have sustainability measures and programs. You've got that record sustainability-linked loans that you did. Tell me about, the two of you go on road shows together, and I think it's fascinating because it sounds like you talk to each other's worlds, and that's a good thing. The financial community, are they doing enough to incent companies on a financial level to be more sustainable? And first, let me start with you, Ezgi, in terms of when you go out and talk, because you're coming from it, from being the Chief Sustainability Officer. Are they doing enough?
Yeah, I think much like the companies, the investment community has also been on a journey, right? Now we're seeing that rise of ESG around the world, but this isn't really new for us. Like Fernando said, we've been doing, sustainability for decades now. And, specifically in how we engage with investors, I've been on investor roadshows and engaging with investors 6-7 years now. And back then we used to call it SRI roadshows, social responsible investing. And now, it's broadly defined as ESG, and it really allows us to not only talk to kind of more niche investors that are maybe more sophisticated in the tools that they use and the particular outcomes that they're aiming for, to how these metrics are now becoming more mainstream and really being used by mainstream investors for their investment decision making. And I think that's really been a fascinating change. And again, a lot of this was very much focused in Europe. These conversations really started in Europe, were more sophisticated, but now you're really getting into kind of more thoughtful conversations in the US and slowly in Asia Pacific and Latin America. So I think around the world, you really are seeing that momentum and taking the learnings out of Europe as well. And it's really encouraging to see that, yes, there's the two camps of investors, right? Those that are really thoughtful, sophisticated, have done it for a long time, and they're gonna, hold you accountable and hold you true to what you need to do. And then those others that are coming with more conversations around, tell us why you do what you do, and like, we want to learn with you. And I think there is really opportunities in both of those conversations for us to learn and continue to enhance our transparency and disclosure, but also our performance on this topic. So definitely great momentum, and that's kind of my point of view. And Fernando specifically has seen this change as well.
So Fernando, do you think the financial community is doing enough when it comes to kind of financially providing the tools, techniques, so that you can be more sustainable?
I will echo Ezgi in a sense that is a journey. It is doing more every day. Of course, there is more to be done. We are also trying to help, given our relevance, our size and scale. One example, we are part of the United Nations Global Compact CFO Task Force. I'm one of the founding members. It's important to see what are the KPIs, what are the metrics, reporting, and how we can do to help to expand even further ESG. But if you go back like 4 or 5 years, we were kind of pushing this agenda. We are, as Ezgi was saying, the SRI road shows, it was kind of at the forefront. Now it's very hard for you to get into an investor meeting and don't get a question on ESG. So it's still a long way to go. It's still a journey, but I feel that every day the support is growing. And at some point in time, we were talking about ESG funds or non-ESG funds. I feel that at some point in time, investors are going to realize that ESG companies are the ones they would be likely to invest because they are likely to give better returns on the long run. So it's not about ESG or non-ESG, it's about how you get a better return for your investment, and companies that are doing a good work on sustainability, on ESG, they are going to be the ones preferred by investors.
When do you feel like, Fernando, I think about on earnings calls, like you know the metrics that we constantly talk about, top, bottom line, growth, margins, all that good stuff, all important. But when do we have a sustainability metric? Because that does play into our climate, these play into the risk factor, right? And the risk story of a company. When does it become the norm, or should be, in your view?
In our earnings call, at least we always have at least one page about sustainability, how we are doing, and the efforts that we are doing. On our, we just published this year our sustainability report. It's become part of our day to day. If you look at our earnings release, it's always part of that. But
you know the street. But you know the street doesn't always. You know what I'm saying? Like, when does it become something where an analyst is going to say, "All right, so what's that metric that's telling us about your sustainability initiatives and what it tells you about risk at the company?"
I feel we still need to evolve on that.
Okay.
The best comparison that I tend to make is whenever you look at a credit rating agency. There are several credit rating agents and they have different metrics, but you know that by doing certain things, you're going to improve your credit rating. It's kind of, it's more or less common among all of them. If you want sustainability, there is still no standard yet. There is still no common sense. So you see that some investors are more sophisticated and they have their own ESG teams, which are going to very, very deep detail, their own proprietary methodology. But you see other rating agencies, companies that are kind of a different methodologies, and you get sometimes very different ratings for the same company across them. So probably there is even reporting, there is no consensus. So there is an opportunity for you to get an standardization without bureaucracy. So for me, that's probably the next challenge that we have on the ESG front. But as I said, it's a journey. The investors are evolving, the companies are evolving, the regulators are evolving, and I see day by day progress is being made. So I'm very excited about the prospects going forward.
You're right, it is a journey, and we've come a long way. There's a question coming from the audience, and it does relate back to the debt facility, the sustainability-linked loan that you guys did. How much does your loan interest rate change if you meet your targets?
We didn't disclose the actual amount. There is a benefit interest rate. But for me, as I told you, it's more a recognition that we are a less risky company. And then not only the rate, but the demand, the amount of people willing to invest and the quantum that you can raise makes a difference. So there is a benefit. We don't disclose exactly how much is the benefit, but the benefit is not only rate, but quantum as well.
One thing I wanted to ask both of you guys, your sustainability goals that you've set by 2025, water efficiency, PET recycling, we're talking about plastic, renewable electricity purchases, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Ezgi, how hard is this, though, all to do? You have done a lot as a company, and you have for a while. It's been in your DNA, not just for the last couple of years, but for a long time. How hard is it to do?
It's not that hard, I want to say, because it takes a bit of vision and courage, right? And I always talk about this double vision, seeing the world as it is today, but also imagining what it could be and like trying to get there, right? And that really allows you to think about the future of packaging, the future of logistics. And for me, Fernando talked about the risk angle. I think there's another big angle as well that we haven't, that the industry hasn't really, and the markets haven't really built expectations on, but it is about innovation, right? So how you take these challenges today and really innovate into the future, whether it's your business model, your supply chain, or your products. And I think that's how, if we can make that big leap, I think that's how the markets are also going to start rewarding companies as well into the future. And there's some early signs of this being possible around the world, but I think it's something that we really need to continue to drive. But yes, for us, 4 years ago, we moved the sustainability function into procurement because we really wanted to establish those ways of working and relationships with our supply chain so that we can collaborate and start thinking about how do you co-design a pilot together? How do you think about that innovation that, the future of packaging, for example, I gave as an example. That really allowed us to open many conversations and really work with our supply chain to think about the future, to design and innovate, really change the conversation and the dynamics from a transactional one into a more strategic one. And that was really powerful. And now, with the creation of a fully dedicated chief sustainability officer role, it's going to allow us to also further integrate into the business strategy and support the business strategy and be really an enabler of that strategy into the future, and also speak to the commercial side of the business. I really think that it was a great evolution in how we started with the operational side inside our four walls and then into our supply chain, and now really thinking about the consumers as well and the value proposition for them.
Fernando, too, you mentioned, you're a founding member of the UN Global Compact CFO Task Force. What are the conversations that you and Ezgi have internally when Ezgi says, hey, Fernando, I want to do this. It's a great sustainability initiative. It'll get us closer to our goals. It's going to cost the company. What's that? I think for such a long time, we had the trade-off conversation. I think it's evolved in a big way. But what is that conversation? And how do you decide, this is worth it, this is smart, this is right, this is good business?
Actually, this, sometimes I call it a myth, sometimes I call it a false dilemma. These conversations, they never happen at the end of the day because sustainability makes sense for our business. So the business case is a very strong one. So it's not that Ezgi all of a sudden shows up and said, Fernando, I have a problem, I have massive investment. No, actually, the way Ezgi shows up, I have a solution. We have a huge opportunity here. Why don't we go for it? So for me, I know that there is always this discussion, but it's a false dilemma. It is not true. As I said, sustainability is our business. A sustainable company is a better company. So if we do that, we're going to be way better. So this discussion never happened.
Yeah, okay. We have a team of teams around the world. I also want to maybe highlight how we work. We have a team of teams around the world. I call them my team of teams. They sit in cross-functional teams. So the budget needs or the resource allocation decisions don't really happen with sustainability. I mean, do we provide general guidance, direction, strategic kind of vision? Yes, absolutely. Do we also help support fund some of the bigger partnerships and programs? Yes, out of global sustainability. But beyond that, a lot of the spend really sits within our functions, right? Whether that's logistics, supply, procurement. They are the ones that are in charge of their resources. They're the ones that are going to ask for CapEx or OpEx, depending on the needs. And again, ultimately, sustainability makes business sense. So it really never becomes this tension, because if it is good design, if it is good for the business, that's an easy conversation.
All right, we've only got about a minute or so left. So we started with this record, credit facility that you guys did, the sustainability-linked credit facility. It caught all of our attention, no doubt about it, for such a global, well-known company to make such a big move. So what's next when it comes to sustainability? If you could think out of the box, and Fernando, let me start with you. What would it be that you would love to do, whether it's regulatory changes or something, and just in about 40 seconds, if you could?
Okay, no, Carol, for me, the next step as part of the journey is probably to have more of a standard way of looking at sustainability, which is going to make investors, regulators' life easier. But that must be accomplished without bureaucracy, because then again, it goes against what companies are trying to do. So it's not an easy task. That's the one everybody is working at, but probably that would be my next dream.